If you remember C at all, there's a main loop, right? And you're supposed to fill that in with what your C program wants to do. You don't write one now, the framework automatically creates what's called a UI application, right? And this is already written for you. And what this does is it creates what's called a run loop on your thread, right? And run loops are very, very important in Objective-C. You almost never see them unless you're doing some advanced things, but you're always interacting with them, right? So a run loop is basically just a loop that runs, right? And you hang things off of it, right? So if you want to listen to a network port, you hang network off of it. And when the run loop gets to it, it runs the network stuff, keeps looping, right? All user interface stuff that you ever do across the system is really a request to the system, things hanging off of this run loop, to do things for you. So that, for example, if you tell in your piece of code right over here, show window, right? It doesn't actually show the window there. All it does is it requests for the system to show the window. When it exits your code, gets back to the run loop, starts doing shit, gets to the UI part, it shows the window. Okay. Right? So that's very important to know that just because you said draw a line doesn't mean it's drawing a line right there in the code. Your method has to exit first before it's actually ever drawn. Right?
It's all about messaging.
Yeah, it's all about messaging. So
maybe you could get into messaging and exactly what it was. It took me a minute to get my head around it. Coming from a web application development perspective.
Yeah, we'll get into the syntax of it because obviously Objective-C is not a normal looking language.
Yeah, right. And extremely verbose.
Yeah. Well, actually, but I
but
like
it's good. Yeah,
because,
it's great
because you can go to anybody's code and without going to the reference, actually read what's going on right on that line.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right? So,
yeah, definitely.
It's great. So just remember that about it. And we're going to get into views in a bit, but let's actually do syntax real quick.
Have you done any storyboarding? Speaking of views.
Yes, but the consensus right now is it's too early with technology. Don't use it. You'll not.
Yeah, I took like 30 minutes trying to dig in, create a new project.
It's a cool system.
Okay,
give it a couple revs, and it'll be amazing.
Yeah, it's.
But it's too many people are hitting their heads up against it right now, and I know at least one person when his large project just reconverted everything back to Zibs.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah, because it replaces Zibs altogether, right?
Yeah. Oh. Yeah. It's the future. It's just not here. Right. Arc is the future, but it is here, so that's cool.
Yeah, and Arc is pretty damn cool.
Okay. So Objective-C syntax comes from Smalltalk, and it uses the funky brackets, right? But it's all object syntax where, so you have all the C syntax, but the way this works is instance or object, right? Whatever. And then parameter, semicolon. This is called on that. So if you're doing JavaScript or Java or something, this would be the same thing as instance instance parenthesis parameters semicolon. Right. Now, it's not quite this either. Oh, I'm sorry. It would be that. It would be instance dot some method name, right?
Yep.
Right.
Exactly.
Okay. So here's an example. Square draw. Draws a square, right? Circle. Draw with radius 10. Draws a circle with radius 10. Okay. Now, and I'm going to give one more example. Let's say polygon draw with radius 10 sides 5. Okay. When you get to multiple parameters, just because you're naming the parameters doesn't mean you can freely switch them. They have to be in the right order. That's the one thing I was just like, it'd be cool if you could switch them, but no. The name of this method is draw width, radius, colon, sides, colon.
And you don't articulate the first parameter, which is really strange.
Yeah, so in a C-based language or C++-based languages where you use a dot notation, this would be something like poly dot draw, right, 10, comma 5.
Yeah. But but in the method definition, you would say poly dot draw radius, comma size, comma.
Yeah, so you can kind of see already that Objective-C, because it's more verbose, you can just look at the line and know exactly what it's doing, where this you may have to look it up.
Yeah.
Right, because what's 10, what's 5. And the other thing that you have to notice is that the method here is named in a C++ syntax-based language, right? But here, there is no draw method, right? It's the parameters that are named, and you append the parameters to each other to get the method name. Okay? Yeah, so that's all that square syntax is. There's really nothing more to it, right? So, pretty easy. Okay, so, yeah, I think that's it. And then one more thing to cover before we actually drop into Xcode is how stuff is displayed on the screen. Okay? So, you have any questions on that? That's good.
Yeah.